What's going on, Dolph fans? It is your boy Dillon, and I actually have a few videos that I'm going to make for you today. I have three in particular that I'm going to make for sure. This one is actually going to be a little bit of update on COVID. There are some positive news, no positive tests. We'll get to that in a minute, but there is some positive news for both teams, so we'll talk about that. I also am going to do my weekly scouting report videos. There's only 2 videos to do this week, and it's for the Patriots and the Titans. So I'm going to do those today. And then tomorrow, if I'm feeling froggy, I might do it today at some point. We'll see how the day goes. But if not today, then tomorrow I will be doing my actual preview video for the Titans game. I'll probably do it tomorrow, though, most likely, because I'll let these videos breathe a little bit and give people a chance to watch them. But they're all going to be relatively short, obviously. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. I do want to talk about the COVID news for both teams. As I said, as I mentioned, there is positive COVID news. And then I also want to mention the guys that remain on the list. So today, it was announced that Albert Wilson and Solomon Kinley will be returning. Having those guys out to begin with wasn't super huge. Kinley would only matter if we had an injury on the offensive line. Wilson, he has been, part of the lineup and has, produced for us and, contributed for us. But, obviously he's whatever. But that does leave, and Allen Hurns actually did come off today too. That was later reported, although he has been on IR the entire year. So obviously him being on the list to begin with never mattered at all. So let's go ahead and get into the players real quick that are still on there. Obviously safety Brandon Jones, that would be a significant loss. Defensive tackle Adam Butler and defensive tackle John Jenkins. Those guys are semi-significant losses because they're really just rotational guys. They're obviously not the starters of Christian Wilkins and Davis, with like Ogba and Phillips and stuff like that. But they do rotate them in, and then Sealer, right? So it's just really our depth there. Same thing with Preston Williams, who has been non-existent this entire season. So, Brandon Jones is a, pretty big one, semi-big for Adam Butler and John Jenkins. Preston Williams, who cares? Allen Hurns, who cares? And Durval Quiros Nito, who cares? Solomon Kinley, Albert Wilson, who cares? It's good to have as many guys back as possible, and some of these guys could still come back tomorrow, but 4 p.m. tomorrow is the latest that they can be taken off the list and designated for return. So if they don't come back tomorrow by 4 p.m., then they will be out for the game. And even if they do get taken off the list, as we saw with Javon Holland, they still might not end up playing the game because there are still other, pieces of the protocols that they will have to get out of. So anyway, let's go ahead now and switch over to the Titans. So let's see. So first off, the Titans have officially activated guard Nate Davis and Nick Westbrook-Akine. So those are pretty big additions back for them. And as a matter of fact, like I've reported recently, that they just also got back Taylor Lewan, Greg Saffold. It actually looks like for the first time, in a while, they are expected to have their entire starting offensive line. So yes, I get it. People are putting out that whole, Tannehill's been sacked 45 times and the Dolphins lead the league in sacks with 45. But again, let's keep that in context. It's because over the past, it wasn't happening, right? I think we only had 12 sacks in the first half of the season. So obviously the vast majority of that, 30 some odd of those sacks, have come over the past 7 weeks, 8 of which came last week against a massively decimated Saints offensive line and really, offense and team as a whole. So, and playing against this offensive line is a totally different monster. So, especially if they're all fully healthy. So that is important, an important context to take into consideration and to look for. Will we get maybe 2 or 3 sacks? Potentially against them, but I don't see us getting 6 or 8 sacks, right? That only comes, and 8 was the most we had in any any game this year, and that was playing against a terrible and decimated Saints offensive line, mostly terrible because they were decimated, and against a rookie quarterback, right, who's playing in his first game. Nick Westbrook-Akine is pretty big. Now, A.J. Brown had missed a day of practice because of a calf injury, but he was full participant today. He's expected to go. So Nick Westbrook-Akine, as of right now, is supposed to be opposite him because Julio Jones is still out, which is a big miss for them. Obviously, again, these players have until tomorrow by 4 p.m., so we'll see how that plays out. But having Julio Jones, Jayon Brown, Danico Autry, and Buster Screen are the and Bud Dupree. So they do have a handful of guys who are pretty significant. Obviously, mostly on the defensive side of the ball, being 4 of those guys: Jayon Brown, Danico Autry, Buster Screen, and Bud Dupree. But Julio Jones on the offensive side of the ball. Now we'll see. I think, though, that, regardless of that, I think that both teams... Now, let's also be fair and note that the Tennessee Titans have been one of the most injured teams in the league to this point, having over 30, 35-plus players on injured reserve over the course of the season. And they've still found a way with this roster to get to 10 wins and, be on the verge of not only securing the playoffs, but also their division. If they win this game against us, they will secure their playoff bid and their division, the AFC South crown, so at 11-5. So, they got a lot to play for. It's obviously in their stadium. But either way, right now, like last week, obviously, between the two teams, because the Dolphins had like 9 of our own, so there was 30 players out. Over 30 players out of that game. They had over 20 players out, and because of that, I was an advocate for postponing it. Obviously, they weren't going to do that. It hasn't been as big a factor in this game for either side. There's only a handful of players. I would say that if I was going to say it leans in one team's favor, it certainly would be the Dolphins by a little bit, because missing the only players of real note, like I said, for us are Brandon Jones. I think we can survive without him, and a couple rotational defensive linemen. I think we can survive without them. But Jayon Brown, Danico Autry, Julio, Buster Screen, and Bud Dupree, those 4 guys on that defense are significant pieces. But I still think that they'll, be a formidable defense to go up against, and our offense is going to have, a hell of a time. And their offense, especially getting that entire offensive line back and still having, Westbrook-Akine and A.J. Brown in particular. They still got Deontay Foreman, who's running really well for them in Henry's stead, right? So, missing Julio, and they've been without Julio Jones too plenty. So if he doesn't play, I think they'll still be all right there. It's still going to be a really tough game. And so we'll see how it plays out. But anyway, that is going to wrap up the updates for, the COVID situation for both teams. Like I said, it is positive news overall for both teams. No players have been added to the COVID list for either team. So that in it itself is positive, but both teams have gotten some players back, which is also positive. And some of the remaining players do have an opportunity to return, but that time is running out. In fact, they have about 12 hours, or actually, no, about 9, it was 24, about 21 hours. They have about 21 hours from now, because it's 4 p.m. Eastern time, and it's getting close to 7 p.m. Eastern time right now. So they have about 21 hours to be able to clear their systems the rest of the way and, meet the rest of the protocols. Now, again, though, they actually can kind of extend that a little bit, like the Dolphins did with Javon Holland, where they take him off the list, right? They remove him from the COVID list. Now, I think it's silly, to be honest with you. You shouldn't be able to remove them from the list until they have cleared the protocols fully. But there is a way, and apparently they can remove them from the list just in case they fully clear protocols by that last test right before the game, right? Because obviously they do a round of tests a couple hours before the game, And then, you know, if anybody tests positive, then they can't suit up and they have to sit out, right? So, but if the, you know, if guys who were on the list but were taken off by 4 p.m. tomorrow, then ultimately clear the protocols by that last testing period right before the game, then they can play. So there is that opportunity. We'll see how the rest of that plays out. But as it is going in, this is going to be a tough game for the Dolphins, obviously in their stadium. And it's going to supposed to be really fucking cold too. So we'll see how it plays out. I think it's supposed to be like 35 with like an 11-degree wind chill or some shit like that. Anyway, we'll get to that. Like I said, I am going to do my scouting report videos for the Patriots and the Titans from week 16, and then, you know, I'll probably be doing my preview video tomorrow, which obviously is Saturday, and then, you know, we'll have the game on Sunday. So with that, let me get out of here. But before I do, check out the Rave On Sports App, the new fan-driven sports app for all of your sports, whether it be basketball, baseball, football, college, whatever you like, they got it. And they are looking to enhance your game day experience with live play-by-play coverage, live chats with other fans and content creators like myself, as well as providing you with an arena to dispute all of the terrible officiating we've seen all year and for quite some time now. So look for the links to that in the description box. And with that, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you guys appreciate my perspective. If you do, make sure you hit the subscribe button, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you hit the bell if you want to get the alerts. Share my channel and videos with your friends and family. Leave your questions, comments, and concerns down in the comment section. And of course, as always, follow me on Twitter at DillonTartaro, as well as on Instagram at Dolphins_with_Dillon. And with that, I am out. I'll see y'all soon. Phins up.